story. Why walking away was the hardest and best choice. Have you ever held on to something so tightly, maybe a relationship, a dream, or even a routine, that the very act of holding on started to hurt more than the idea of letting go? It's strange, isn't it? We spend our lives learning to stick things out, work through it, be strong, don't quit. But what they don't always tell you is that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. I know it sounds counterintuitive, especially when you've invested so much time, love, energy, and hope into something. Walking away feels like failure, like giving up. But today, I want to talk about why, for many of us, especially later in life, walking away might be the hardest and best decision we'll ever make. Because here's the thing. The older we get, the more we start realizing that time is a currency far more valuable than money. And peace of mind, that's priceless. Maybe you stayed in a friendship that always left you drained, or in a job, or even a marriage, where you felt invisible, underappreciated, just plain stuck. You kept thinking, if I just try a little harder, maybe it'll get better. You gave it another chance, and then another. And so one day, you woke up and realized you didn't recognize yourself anymore. That moment when you realize you've bent so far, you might break is where this conversation begins. Let's talk about why walking away doesn't make you weak. Why, in fact, it might be the bravest thing you'll ever do. The first thing to understand is that letting go is not the same as giving up. Giving up comes from a place of fear or defeat. Letting go, that comes from wisdom, from the clarity that says, this is no longer serving me. And that's powerful. I remember talking to a woman in her 70s who finally cut ties with a lifelong friend. They'd known each other for over 50 years, but every conversation left her feeling judged, small, and exhausted. Still, she clung to the history, the shared memories, the guilt of being the one to walk away. But one day she said to me, I realized I was holding on to the past, not the person, and I had to choose peace over nostalgia. That hit me hard. How many of us are holding on to someone or something not because it still fits our life today, but because it used to? It's the same with routines. Maybe you've done something a certain way for decades out of habit, comfort, or fear of change. But if that habit no longer brings you joy or growth, maybe it's time to step back and ask, is this still right for me? You don't have to justify it. You don't need permission. You're allowed to outgrow things, even if they were once exactly what you needed. And yet, we hesitate. Why? Because walking away means stepping into the unknown. And let's be honest, uncertainty can be scary, especially when we've been used to structure and routine for so long. But here's something beautiful. Just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's good for you. And just because something is unknown doesn't mean it's bad. Sometimes, that space you open up when you walk away, that's where new joy, healing, and purpose finally have room to grow. There's also the fear of what others will think. Will they judge me, think I've lost it, think I'm selfish? But remember, people will always have opinions. You can't control that. What you can control is whether you live your life for them or for yourself. I once met a man who left a high-status job just shy of retirement. Everyone thought he was crazy. But the stress had begun to wear down his health, and he said, what's the point of a pension if I'm too sick to enjoy it? So he walked away, took up woodworking, started smiling more, sleeping better. Sometimes, doing what's right for you won't make sense to others, and that's okay. And then there's guilt. Oh, that heavy, sneaky emotion that creeps in when we start prioritizing ourselves. But let me say this clearly. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are not unkind for setting boundaries. And you are certainly not wrong for choosing a life that feels good to live. Think of it like this. Walking away isn't about burning bridges. It's about choosing the path that leads you back to yourself. Maybe it means stepping back from a family member who only calls when they need something. Maybe it's distancing yourself from old habits that no longer bring joy. Maybe it's finally taking that long overdue step toward the life you want, not the one you feel obligated to stay in. No matter what it looks like, the heart of the matter is the same. You're choosing your well-being, and that's worth everything. Sometimes it takes reaching the point of complete emotional exhaustion to see it. You sit in silence one day, and suddenly it hits you. This isn't the life you signed up for. That quiet moment of realization, that's when the shift begins. That's when the courage starts to risen not in big dramatic ways, but in small whispers that say, there has to be more than this. And there is. There is so much more. But you won't find it if you're too afraid to let go of what's holding you back. You know, one of the hardest parts of walking away isn't the moment you leave, it's the days that follow. The silence, the doubt, the questions that creep in late at night like, did I make the right choice? Or, what if I gave up too soon? That's when you have to remind yourself, your decision wasn't made on a whim. It came from deep inside, from a place that finally had the courage to say, enough. That quiet space after walking away, it can feel lonely at first, even empty, like standing in the middle of an open field, unsure which way to go. But that space, that's where healing begins. That's where you get to plant something new. And that's what most people don't realize. Walking away is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. One where you get to write the rules, where you get to choose what you bring with you and what you leave behind. You begin to notice little things, how your chest feels lighter, how your smile feels more genuine, you laugh a little easier, sleep a little deeper. These are signs not loud, but powerful that you're reclaiming your peace. Let me tell you something you might need to hear today. It's okay to miss what you walked away from. That doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means you're human. It means you cared. And caring deeply doesn't make you weak, it proves your heart was in it. Sometimes you'll look back and remember the good moments, the laughter, the love, the history. You'll feel a tug. That's normal. Memory has a funny way of polishing up the past, like an old photograph that hides the cracks underneath. But don't let nostalgia make you forget why you left. You left because you were losing yourself, because you wanted to breathe again, because you deserved better even if it was scary to say it out loud. It's in those moments of remembering that we have to practice something powerful. Self-compassion. Instead of beating yourself up or second-guessing your choice, try telling yourself, I did what I had to do to take care of me. Say it out loud if you need to. Let it settle in your bones. And here's another truth. Not everyone will understand why you walked away. They might judge, they might gossip, they might even try to pull you back in with guilt or sweet words that sound like change. But change without action is just noise. You didn't walk away because you stopped caring. You walked away because you started caring about yourself too. Think about that for a second. How long have you put yourself last? Your needs, your voice, your dreams. So many of us, especially as we grow older, fall into that role of caretaker. We've been parents, spouses, employees, helpers. We've worn every hat. But now is the time to check in with yourself and ask, what do I need? Because here's the gift that comes with age clarity. You start to see what truly matters, and more importantly, what doesn't. You don't have to explain your piece to anyone. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that no longer honor you. If something in your life costs you your mental health, your joy, or your self-worth, then it's too expensive, no matter what it used to mean to you. And that clarity, that's what gives you the strength to set boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls. They're not punishments. They're just the lines we draw to protect our energy. To say, this is where I end, and someone else begins. To say, I matter too. It's not always easy, especially when people are used to the old you, the one who never said no, who always stayed quiet to keep the peace. The first time you say, I can't do this anymore, it might shake the room a little, but that's okay. Sometimes the room needs to be shaken. Because walking away isn't just about leaving something behind, it's about stepping into something too. Maybe it's more time for yourself. Maybe it's rediscovering your creativity, your hobbies, your faith, your friends. Maybe it's just the simple joy of waking up in the morning and knowing there's no one making you feel small anymore. I once knew a man in his early 80s who finally ended a decades-long habit of being everyone's yes man. He used to say yes to every favor, every call for help, even when it exhausted him. He told me, I thought saying yes made me a good person, but I didn't realize I was saying no to myself over and over. So he changed. Slowly, steadily, he started putting himself first. And you know what happened? His real relationships, the ones built on love and mutual respect, got stronger. And the ones built on convenience or guilt, they faded. And he said for the first time in his life, he finally felt free. That's the kind of freedom walking away can give you. Not the dramatic movie scene kind, but the quiet, powerful kind, the kind that lets you exhale fully and deeply, the kind that lets you sleep through the night without a pit in your stomach. And yes, it takes courage, but courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet voice that says, I deserve better than this. If that voice has been whispering to you lately, don't ignore it. That's your soul trying to protect you, trying to guide you back home to yourself. You know what's funny? Once you walk away from something that was weighing you down, you start to notice just how heavy it really was. It's like taking off a backpack you didn't even realize you were wearing. You stand up straighter, you breathe deeper, and little by little you start to remember who you were before you got so tired. And that remembering, it's not just about going back to the past. It's about reconnecting with the part of you that's still alive and well underneath all the noise. The part of you that still dreams, still laughs, still hopes, because no matter how old we are, we never stop needing joy. We never stop needing purpose. Sometimes walking away makes space for all the things you forgot you loved. Maybe it's painting or gardening or dancing in the kitchen. Maybe it's finally taking that road trip, joining a local group, or just sitting on the porch watching the sunset without anyone making you feel guilty for taking a break. And here's the beautiful thing. Here's the beauty. Once you give yourself permission to walk away from what no longer serves you, you start attracting what does. Peace finds its way in. Real connections, healthier routines, a sense of clarity that feels like fresh air after being stuck in a closed room. There's a quiet kind of power in choosing yourself, not in a selfish, boastful way, but in a calm, grounded way that says, I matter. My needs matter. My happiness matters. And if no one's ever told you that before, let me be the one to say it now. You matter. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve to feel seen. And you absolutely deserve to build a life that feels good to wake up to. Walking away is not about burning down the past. It's about stepping into your future with intention. It's about finally listening to that inner voice, the one that's been quietly asking for change, the one that says, I can't keep doing this, even if it takes months or years to act on it. You see, growth doesn't always happen in big leaps. It happens in quiet decisions, in choosing not to answer that draining phone call, in taking a walk instead of arguing, in saying no without guilt, in choosing peace over chaos. That's the kind of growth that sticks. And I'll be honest with you, it's not always smooth. There might be days when you feel unsure, days when the old life tries to pull you back. That's normal. Change is messy. But every time you stand your ground, every time you honor what feels right for you, it gets a little easier. Think about where you were a year ago, not just physically, but emotionally. What were you tolerating that you wouldn't accept today? That's progress. That's strength. You didn't walk away to prove anything to anyone. You did it to honor your life, your one precious life. And the beautiful thing is, you're not alone. So many others are finding the courage to do the same, to leave behind what's familiar but painful, to chase something gentler, more authentic, more true. And here's something I want to make sure you hear loud and clear. It's never too late. I don't care if you're 50, 70, 90 years old. As long as you're breathing, you can choose something better. You can make a change. You can walk away from what hurts and walk toward what heals. I've met people who found love again in their 70s, who started new careers, who forgave themselves for decades of self-blame and finally found peace. It's never too late to rewrite your story, because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. When you protect that, nurture that, respect that, that's when everything starts to shift. You show the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And when you walk away from what diminishes you, you're saying, I am worth more than this. And you are. So if you're standing at the edge of a decision right now, if there's something tugging at your spirit telling you it's time to let go, trust it. You're not crazy. You're not being dramatic. You're waking up. You're paying attention. And that is a beautiful, powerful thing. Letting go might feel like breaking at first, but it's not the end. It's the beginning of becoming whole again. And once you've made that leap, once you've let go of what no longer fits, hold on to this truth. You did something brave. You chose yourself. You stepped out of fear and into freedom. Now take that freedom and fill it with what nourishes you. New friendships, stillness, laughter, quiet mornings, boundaries that protect your peace, dreams that still light you up inside. You deserve all of it. Remember, small shifts create big changes. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Just keep choosing what feels true. Keep honoring that quiet wisdom inside you. Keep walking, not away from something, but toward the life you've always deserved. And if this message has stirred something in your heart, I want you to know, you're not alone. So many of us are walking this path, step by step, with courage and grace. And together, we're learning that it's never too late to choose joy. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. Share your thoughts or your experience in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you found this helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more content that lifts your spirit and reminds you how powerful you really are. Here's to choosing peace, choosing self-worth, and choosing a life that feels like home. You've got this. And you are not alone. You know, after you've walked away and the dust has settled, that's when the real work begins. Not the dramatic kind, not the loud kind, but the quiet rebuilding of a life that feels true to you. At first it might feel unfamiliar, like standing in a house with bare walls, silent, echoing, a little too empty. But don't rush to fill that space just because it's quiet. That silence, that's sacred. That's the beginning of your new story. Give yourself time to breathe, time to rest, time to ask yourself questions you maybe haven't asked in years. What do I want? What brings me peace? What do I no longer have to carry? And don't worry if the answers don't come right away. Sometimes, after years of living for others, we forget how to listen to our own voice. But it's still there. It's just been waiting, patiently, for you to come home to yourself. This part of the journey is about rebuilding with intention. It's not about proving anything to anyone. You don't need to prove you're okay. You don't need to rush into the next thing to feel whole again. Healing is not a race. It's a process. You start small. Maybe you begin each day with a quiet moment to yourself. Maybe you say yes to things that light you up. Maybe you finally say no to things that drain you. You start surrounding yourself with people who see you, not just for what you've done for them, but for who you are. People who respect your boundaries. People who don't make you shrink or doubt yourself. People who bring ease, not anxiety. Because here's something no one tells you enough. You deserve ease. You don't have to hustle for love. You don't have to earn respect through sacrifice. You don't have to explain your decisions to people who never listened to your pain in the first place. You get to choose peace now. That's your right. And peace doesn't mean your life is perfect. It means your life feels honest. And that's worth everything. You also begin to reclaim your joy, not the big flashy kind, but the quiet kind. The joy of sipping your favorite tea in the morning. The joy of sunlight on your face. The joy of a good book, a phone call with a true friend, a slow walk through the neighborhood without pressure or hurry. That kind of joy is quiet, but it runs deep. It roots you. And the more you feed it, the stronger it grows. Some people may never understand why you walked away. And you know what? That's okay. They don't have to. Because this was never about them. It was about you, learning to love yourself enough to choose better. And maybe, just maybe, you'll inspire someone else to do the same. Someone watching quietly, stuck in a situation they don't know how to leave. Maybe your courage gives them a little hope, a little nudge to believe that they too are worthy of more. That's how healing spreads, not always in grand speeches or big announcements, but in the quiet decisions we make to honor our lives, to treat ourselves like we matter, because we do. And if, along this journey, you ever feel yourself slipping back into old habits, don't be hard on yourself. You're human. Growth isn't linear. What matters most is that you keep choosing yourself, one decision at a time. Maybe today that choice is resting instead of explaining. Maybe it's holding your boundary even when someone pushes. Maybe it's forgiving yourself for all the years you didn't know how to choose better. There's such beauty in that, in showing up for yourself, in saying, I may not have it all figured out, but I know what I won't accept anymore. That's power, quiet, steady, deep. And if today you feel proud of how far you've come, let yourself feel it fully. If today you feel tired, let yourself rest. This is your path. You don't have to move at anyone else's pace. Walking away was the hardest choice you ever made, but it was also the most honest, the most loving, the most liberating. because it meant you finally saw your worth and you acted on it. So keep building, keep healing, keep becoming. This chapter isn't about loss, it's about renewal. It's about reclaiming the life you were always meant to live. And no matter where you are in the process, I want you to know this. I'm proud of you for listening to that inner voice, for taking the leap, for choosing the harder road because it was the one that led you back to peace. If this message touched your heart, I hope you'll take a moment to share your thoughts. Leave a comment. Let someone else know they're not alone. And if you'd like more stories, more encouragement, more reminders that you are strong and worthy, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're building a space here where healing is honored and growth is celebrated. You've come so far, and this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Keep choosing you. Keep walking forward. You are not alone. And more than anything, remember this. You deserve a life that feels like peace, a life that feels like home. And it's never too late to build it. Here's to you, your courage, your healing, your next chapter.